September 22nd, 8:45 a.m. District Court. Defendant, Lobby, number 3. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Ellen. I see you're still wearing your wedding gown. I will continue to wear until our marriage is saved. Oh, sorry! What? Oh. Do you think you came to see how she's holding up? Sorry, my love. You came all the way to the court just to see me. Oh, sorry, and I don't know what to say. Blueprints. No? The engine blueprints. I can't find them. Do you know where they are? No, they're in the room, third chair from the bottom on the right-hand side. Oh, I see. He's leaving already? Don't tell me he came just to ask about some stupid blueprints. Is he really that cold of a person? Or is that just how he comes off, I wonder? Sniffle, what about me, sorry? Ellen, he's back. Come home soon. I'm lost without you. Sorry! Later. Looks like showing your vulnerabilities is the fastest way to capturing a woman's heart. You should take notes on this, Nick. Please leave me out of this. Anyway, looks like Soren isn't big on words, but it's clear that he cares about Ellen. Knowing that, I actually feel kind of relieved. Mr. Wright, I just absolutely can be found guilty, you hear? Don't worry, I'm gonna do everything I can to prove your innocence. Thank you, Mr. Wright. The trial is about to start, sir. Edgeworth. Knowing him, he's not gonna yield an inch. So I've just gotta fight with everything I've got and save Ellen. I'll give him a couple of inches. My powers have doubled since last we met. September 22nd, 9 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 6.
Court is now in session for the trial of Ellen Wyatt.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor.
Seeing so many familiar faces gathered together like this, I feel as though I'm at a grand reunion. Makes me want to go out for dinner and a drink and reminisce with all of you.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I was dying for a real burger the whole time I was away. We could make it a welcome back party for Maya. How about it, Edgeworth? I have no intention of cavorting with my enemies. Now then, Your Honor, let us start this trial at once.
Ho, still not one for light-hearted banter, are you, Miss Edgeworth?
Jokes and good humor are beyond worth us in a court of law. Guess we'll just have to have the party without him, then. However, were it after the conclusion of this trial, I might consider joining you for your little welcome back party. I certainly wouldn't mind an invite, at the very least. He's still as emotionally constipated as ever, I see.
Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you could please go over the details of this case for us.
The victim was Dumas Gloomsbury, a servant in the Sprocket household. He was in attendance at the wedding reception that occurred from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Mr. Gloomsbury apparently felt some animosity toward Ellen Wyatt, and so, a bit after the reception ended at 10 p.m., he assaulted Miss Wyatt with the intent to kill her. The defendant fought back and ended up killing Mr. Gloomsbury.
In other words, it was justified self-defense, correct? If that's the case, then the defendant might not be criminally responsible.
He's right. Worst case scenario, I could go for self-defense to avoid the criminal charge. I wonder how Edgeworth plans to counter that, though. The prosecution's first witness will make my view on the matter clear, Your Honor.
Very well. Bailiff, please bring in the first witness.
Who's... Oh. Right. Please state your name and occupation, witness.
Emma Skye, forensic investigator. And I'd just like to say, sir, that being in the same courtroom as you is a great honor.
Oh, that's right. You're a fan of Edgeworth's, aren't you, Emma?
We're good friends and all, Mr. Wright. But just this once, I intend to faithfully and fully testify for the prosecution. And I do mean that wholeheartedly.
Huh. I expect no less from you.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna do my very best.
Looks like you lost the popularity contest to Mr. Edgeworth, Nick. Nah, I really could care less. Besides, she'll see who's the better lawyer once I win this trial. Yeah, maybe then you'll actually really care less.
Now, Detective Skye, if you please.
The murder weapon was a clock called the Timekeeper. The victim was hit with it from behind, and he fell over right into the lantern. The defendant was spotted then, standing in front of the body holding the murder weapon. The victim was struck twice, by the way.
He was struck twice?
That's right. There's no mistake about it. The first blow was to the back of the victim's head. It was hard enough to knock him unconscious, yet despite the fact that he had been immobilized by the first blow, the defendant delivered a second fatal blow to the side of the victim's head.
Which means what exactly? It was actually murder. In that case, if she went in for another hit, then it's not self-defense anymore, right? Huh. I figured it would go right over your head. Let's put it this way. By striking the victim a second time, the defendant killed her last chance to escape from any criminal wrongdoing.
She did? But how, Mr. Edgeworth? I don't know anything.
Aren't you a judge? The defendant may have been fighting back because she was being attacked. However, she then went on to deliver a fatal blow to a man who was already fully unconscious.
Nick, is he saying what I think he is?
I don't feel so well. And thus, Mr. Wright has justified self-defense. And thus, Mr. Wright has justified self-defense been removed from the table. The prosecution intends to prove that the defendant killed the victim with murderous intent. Allow me to belatedly submit the victim's autopsy report. So that's why he was acting all smug. Well, more smug than usual.
It's fine, right? It's not like we were going to plead self-defense anyway, right?
Right, but now the judge has a negative impression of Ellen. He may not get to prosecute much anymore, but he definitely hasn't lost his touch. That's fine. We just have to prove that Mr. Gloomsbury wasn't struck by Ellen. Case closed.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
The murder weapon was a clock called the Timekeeper.
Hold it!
Are you completely sure the murder weapon was the timekeeper?
Yes, completely. The shape of the injury on the victim's head matches up with that of the Timekeeper, and it's definitely heavy enough to kill someone with it. But
would the defendant have been able to pick up and swing something so heavy?
I tried it myself, and I was able to lift it up just fine.
Maybe you're just freakishly strong.
Excuse me, Mr. Wright? I'll have you know that people on the force know me as the dainty forensic investigator.
Sorry, but really, you're hardly a delicate flower. Mr. Wright, this is a court of law. Save your antics for after the trial, if you know how.
Yes, sir. It won't happen again, sir.
Huh. Moving on.
Hold on, let's Let's read the autopsy report. Bloomsbury's head shows signs of being hit twice. The timekeeper was used as a murder weapon. Cerebral hemorrhage from a strong blow to the head. One contusion was found on the back of the head, and one on the side. The blows were caused by the same weapon. Can't see any of the hits. But the blood on the hand, that's weird. I'm sure that's gonna come into relevance later.
The victim was hit with it from behind, and he fell over right into the lantern. Hold it!
The defendant was fighting back against the victim, right? If so, wouldn't she have hit him from the front and not from behind?
The victim must have tried to run once Miss Wyatt started fighting back. That's probably when he got hit from behind.
I see. Thus, the blow to the back of his head.
The defendant must have looked awfully scary when she was brandishing that clock.
I don't know about that. Regardless of how scary Ellen looked, the victim was definitely hit from behind.
May I go on?
Yes, of course. Please do.
The defendant was spotted then, standing in front of the body holding the murder weapon. Hold it!
But that's only because she was so panicked when she found the body that she tried to use the timekeeper to go back in time.
Objection!
Mr. Wright, do you have any idea how absurd you sound? But Miss White really believed she could travel through time with that clock. You really should have come up with a more credible story, you know.
Yes, I agree.
Me three, but it's all I've got to go on.
Anyway, under the circumstances, the only conclusion we can draw is that the defendant killed the victim.
Holding a murder weapon does not a murderer make.
The victim was struck twice, by the way. Hold it!
Miss White must have had a chance to escape after she struck the victim the first time. So why would she stick around and hit him with such a heavy object again?
Well, about that.
Allow me to explain. Why did she strike him again indeed? To finish off the victim, of course. This very act clearly shows that she had every intention of killing Mr. Bloomsbury.
Miss White will never do anything like that.
Then let's see some evidence that disproves my theory.
Are you going to just stand there and take that from him, Nick?
I can't refute his claim head-on, so I'll have to approach it from a different angle.
Well,
looks like we won't be going anywhere until we can refute Edgeworth's claim.
This is so exciting. We haven't taken on Mr. Edgeworth in ages.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick. Now go get him.
No need to rush me, Maya. Alright, I better start by comparing Emma's testimony with the evidence we have, and look for any glaring inconsistencies. I'll pronounce it right one time. One of these times. Okay, the murder weapon was a clock called the Timekeeper. That's correct. Nothing wrong with that. Victim was hit from behind. Oh, okay. There you go.
Objection!
Detective Sky, I'm afraid I have to apologize in advance.
For what?
For embarrassing you in front of your idol.
What do you mean?
If you take a look at this photo of the crime scene, you'll see that the victim is lying on his back. But if the victim had been hit from behind as you claim, then he should have fallen over into the lantern face down.
Ah!
It's not enough to simply take someone's side, Detective Sky, even if it is Mr. Edgeworth's.
There does appear to be a flaw in Detective Sky's testimony.
Mr. Wright, if you think I'm gonna just back that right down, then you are sadly mistaken.
Emma's unusually fired up today.
Don't forget, she's in front of her hero, Nick. If the Steel Samurai came to watch this trial, I'd want to do my absolute best too. Listen, Mr. Wright. It's entirely possible the defendant moved the victim's body after he fell over. In that case, there wouldn't be any contradiction, right?
Indeed. That was an excellent counter-argument, Detective.
You can count on me, sir. So, what do you have to say to that, Mr. Wright?
Is it possible that the victim's body was moved after he fell into the lantern? Sorry, Detective, but there's no way the victim's body was moved after his death.
Oh, really? And what makes you so sure?
One look at this here, and it should become obvious. The bloodstain?
What exactly are you pointing at, Mr. Wright?
Oh, this right here.
What you are trying to communicate is not obvious at all, Mr. Wright. But this penalty should make my feelings on the matter pretty obvious, even to you.
The only thing that's obvious right now is the pain in my attorney's badge.
One look at this here, and it should become obvious. What proves that the victim's body has not been moved? Well, if he fell face down, and then he got flipped around, then there should be blood on the lantern. But okay, maybe that's me overthinking it again. Okay, so if he fell face down, and then he got flipped over, okay, so the little wooden thingies, I don't know. I don't, what? Okay. Don't tell me it's the flower petals. Because that's stupid. Is it this stuff here?
Those broken bits of the lantern?
Yes, if the body had been moved after the fact, these fragments would have fallen off of it. But, as you can clearly see, they're lying perfectly undisturbed on top of the body. This means that the victim must have been lying face up from before the lantern even broke.
You're right! But wait a minute, that's true. Then when was the victim killed? I mean, the lantern was still whole during the reception, right?
Right, which means we've just overturned a major assumption about this case. If the victim was already dead before the lantern was even broken, then the body must have been inside the lantern since before the reception started. In other words, the defense asserts that the victim was killed before the wedding reception.
What?
In short, when Miss Wyatt was seen standing in front of the body after the reception, it wasn't the moment just after the murder was committed. It was the moment she happened to discover the body, just as Miss Wyatt claims.
Objection!
Huh. Whether the act was committed before or after the reception is entirely inconsequential. After all, it was the defendant who prepared the reception hall for the event in question. Therefore, when the murder occurred, changes nothing with regard to her guilt. She could have killed the victim before the reception, as you claim, and then tried to hide his body in the lantern after the event ended.
Objection!
Sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, where would the body have been hidden during the reception in your scenario? That's... Even you have to admit, Mr. Edgeworth, that this has opened up a new possibility. Do explain, Mr. Wright. Well, if Miss Wyatt didn't commit the crime in the reception hall, then that means someone, somewhere, put the victim's body into the lantern.
I suppose that makes sense. A dead body couldn't have put itself in there.
Exactly, Your Honor. In other words, if the murder actually occurred before the reception, it opens up the possibility that... If the body was hidden inside the lantern, then it's possible that the body was moved along with it from somewhere else.
Oh, you're right.
You can run that mouth of yours all you want, but do you have any evidence to support what's coming out of it, Mr. Wright? I'll show you what my mouth can do. I think the answer lies in that piece of evidence, and in something that was left at the crime scene that will point us to where the victim was really killed.
Very well, Mr. Wright. In that case, what proves that the lantern and the body were moved from somewhere else?
Take that!
This proves that the murder took place somewhere other than the reception hall.
I'm afraid I can't say that I follow.
That piece of evidence won't help you make your point, Nick.
Yet another pointless piece of evidence from a senseless attorney.
Fine, so this piece wasn't convincing enough. Then there must be something else that would be easier for the judge to understand. What proves that the lantern and the body were moved from somewhere else?
Take that!
The photo of the victim again? Fucking idiots. Yes. I'd like the court to focus on this thing right here.
Take that!
Flower petals, Mr. Wright. These petals are from a kind of flower that were not present at the reception hall. This means they must have gotten into the lantern when it was somewhere else.
And just where do you propose this somewhere else to be, Mr. Wright?
The photo I just showed you, you fucking retards. Watch this. Wait, hold on. Watch this. Remember this photo? Please take a look at the flowers in this picture of the hold. Notice how their petals are of the same shape as the petals in the crime scene photo?
Yes. Oh, now I see. They do look to be from the same kind of flower.
Objection!
I'm retarded.
Huh, is that really all you've got? A flower is a flower is a flower. They're all the same. I would hardly call what you presented compelling evidence.
He's right. I couldn't...
Oh, no, never mind.
I'm afraid I couldn't disagree with you more, Miss Edgeworth. I gave a flower of this type to my lovely wife once when we were young, so I can assure you that this is a very meaningful and compelling evidence indeed. The soundness of my judgment in this matter is backed by nothing less than pure love.
But Your Honor, let it go, Mr. Edgeworth. It's clear you don't know much about flowers. It's not like you have anyone you'd actually give any to, after all. But maybe you should study up on them, just in case the opportunity presents itself. This from the man who only knows the names of 3 types of flowers?
That's hardly relevant to the case at hand.
Fucking incel. The defense asserts that it's highly probable that the victim was killed in the hold. If the body was then placed into the lantern and moved to the reception hall for some reason, it would completely destroy the prosecution's case.
You mean the body was...
Yes, the victim's body was inside the lantern during the entire beautiful wedding reception, while the defendant and her betrothed were celebrating their love.
What?
Whew.
Objection!
Your smooth talk might work on His Honor, but it won't work on me. Not anymore. What are you talking about now? Take another look at all of the evidence, and you'll soon see what I mean.
I wish he would just tell me already. Stop teasing me with it.
Detective Sky, I'm sure you've already figured out what I'm talking about, correct?
Of course, sir. Miss Wright is the only one here who hasn't. Why don't you leave this to me, Mr. Edgeworth?
Very well, let's see what you can do.
Detective Sky, please give your testimony to this court.
What could it be now?
The prosecution's rebuttal.
Is it something to do with the time of death, or that the victim was seen to be alive during the reception, or... What do they have up their sleeve? Something related to some evidence. Alright, let's see what you got, Emma. The victim could not have been killed before the reception. The autopsy report states that the estimated time of death was after the reception. And that estimated time of death is correct. There is no way it could be wrong. It's clear Mr. Grimsbury was killed after the reception, and that completely contradicts your claim.
It's not like autopsies were ever incorrect before. I guess so. Tell me you took at least a cursory glance at the autopsy report, Mr. Wright. It appears you've grown rusty since our last outing. Might I suggest you go back and brush up on the basics? Sure, though I must say, you're as cocky as ever, Mr. Edgeworth. I beg your pardon?
What are you trying to say, Mr. Wright?
I'm just saying that I'll go back to basics if that's what Mr. Edgeworth wants. I'll prove how badly he's underestimating me with a good old-fashioned cross-examination.
Very well. Let's see you put your money where your mouth is, Mr. Wright. Let's see you work that mouth of yours. Yes, you got a pretty mouth on you, boy.
The victim could not have been killed before the reception.
Hold it!
You sound pretty certain. You must have some solid grounds for making that claim, right?
Of course I do. And you're gonna feel silly when I show you what they are. Ready? Feast your eyes on this. The autopsy report states that the estimated time of death was after the reception.
Hold it!
I've read the autopsy report too, you know.
Then you don't need me to explain it to you, right? How there's no way the victim could have been killed before the reception, I mean?
Detective Sky, I think you've overlooked something big.
I have?
Why don't you take another look at the evidence?
But I've already looked at all the evidence, and quite carefully too, I'll have you know.
Detective Sky, do not be taken in by his verbal antics. He is simply bluffing as always.
Right, sir. And that estimated time of death is correct. There's no way it could be wrong.
Hold it!
Is it possible that the culprit did something to obscure the real time of death?
No, not in this case. There was no snow or anything to keep the body from decomposing. And there's no fridge on that airship big enough to fit a body into.
So you've already checked into that, I see.
It all comes down to the estimated time of death, doesn't it? Couldn't the killer mess with the victim's time of death by keeping the body on ice?
Yeah, if they had the means to. Prosecution is treating the estimated time of death as an absolute. But is it really?
I take it you don't think it is, huh, Nick? In that case, we're gonna have to find a way to convince them otherwise.
Yeah, there's gotta be a way somehow.
Objection!
I admit that the estimated time of death does contradict my theory.
Finally, and that means your theory that the victim is killed before the reception.
It's still entirely plausible.
Oh? What makes you think that?
The killer could have falsified the time of death by using a certain item in the reception hall. Please take a look at this.
And what is that contraption, Mr. Wright?
It's a fog machine, Your Honor, used to create a special romantic atmosphere in the hall.
And this machine could have been used to falsify the time of death?
Yes, Your Honor, because this machine uses dry ice to perform its magic.
Dry ice? Ah, yes, the super cold stuff commonly used to make theatrical fog, right? I see, so your claim is that this dry ice was used to keep the body cold.
Oh. In that case, I guess the victim could have been killed before the reception.
Order! Order in this court! Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do you have to say about this development?
That the victim was killed in the hole before the wedding reception. The prosecution acknowledges the possibility of this claim.
Now we're getting somewhere.
The prosecution would also like to thank you, Mr. Wright. For what? I didn't know how a certain piece of evidence fit into this case, but now, thanks to you, I do. What piece of evidence? To get into the hold, one needs a keycard, like this one. And here we have a record of those who entered the hold with such keycards. The times are unspecified, but these are the last 3 entries on the day of the murder. And as you can see, the last person to enter the hold that day was the defendant.
What? So, the one who moved the body out of the hold must have been...
That's right. It was none other than the defendant. If the body was inside the lantern, then she couldn't have known that it was inside the lantern. Case closed.
Hey, Nick, take a look at this entry record. There are a couple of other names on here besides Ellen's.
Hey, you're right. According to the entry record, Miss Edgeworth, Pierce Nishude had also got into the hold. Isn't it possible that he could have been the culprit?
Objection!
Sorry, but Mr. Nushiday was escorting a few of the guests at the time. I'm sure they would be happy to testify to that fact if you'd like. Think me cocky all you'd like, Mr. Wright, but my confidence is rarely misplaced. Now then, it's probably safe to assume that after killing the victim in the hole, the defendant moved his body to the hole in order to dispose of it discreetly.
What do you mean by discreetly?
The defendant volunteered to take care of the reception's cleanup personally. That means she would have had the chance to dispose of anything in any way she wanted, including taking the lantern off the airship without raising any suspicion. Don't tell me you didn't know about Miss Wyatt volunteering for cleanup duty, Mr. Wright.
For my last task as a servant in the Sprocket household, I offered to take on the preparation and cleanup of the reception banquet.
I see.
Look at you, sweating buckets like a rookie, even after all these years. Nevertheless, thank you for proving that the only person who could have killed the victim in the hold is Ellen Wyatt.
Great job, Phoenix. Now we're back to square one.
Perhaps you should ask Miss Sykes for some help in reviewing Defense for Dummies.
Way to go, sir. You've got Mr. Wright in a cold sweat.
I wonder if maybe the promise of seeing that miserable look on his face is what brought me back to court today. It certainly made all of my stress and woes as chief prosecutor just melt away.
I guess he had a lot of stress built up.
I'll give him something to stress over before we're through today. Whew. No lube tonight.
Your Honor, the prosecution asks that you render your verdict at this time. Before that man over there tries to throw the court into chaos with his meaningless bluffs.
I see. Mr. Wright? Are there any less meaningful bluffs you'd like to present to this court?
Why does he have to assume it'll be a bluff?
Nick, hurry up and throw a good one out there. I will.
Well, alright then. Let's see. I've got it. How do you know it was Miss White who used her key card? After all, if it turns out that somebody else used her card, it would mean Miss White didn't do it.
Interesting. And are you able to prove this bluff to be true?
I assure you, I'm not bluffing, Your Honor.
Well, now what?
Wait a minute, Nick. I can think of a certain somebody who might have used Ellen's key card. You can? Remember? One who was sneaking around the hold in spite of not being a family member?
Oh, that's right. Your Honor, the defense would like to call a certain witness to the stand. I need the testimony of this person who may have entered the hold with Miss Wyatt's card.
Take that!
That's your witness? You say that numbskull was on the airship? He never breathed a word about that to me.
That's not surprising, because Mr. Nutriday told him to keep quiet about it. But Mr. Butz himself admitted it to me. He claimed to have found a way to sneak into the Flying Chapel's hold to see Miss Wyatt. This photo he took and gave to me as proof. Then was it he who moved the lantern with the body inside the reception hall? You know as well as I that with him, anything is possible. And this is one possibility we should definitely look into. No, I can't believe this. What in the world is he doing mixed up in this? Come on, Miss Edgeworth. Remember what we've been saying since elementary school? When something smells, it's usually the butts. Exactly.
That Larry? He'll pay for this.
Well, if you want to extract your payment now, he's right up there in the gallery.
Yikes!
Bailiff, seize the witness before he makes a run for it.
No! Where's the
Sorry, Larry, but you brought this on yourself.
Let us break for a 15-minute recess. I ask that both sides prepare for the next witness's testimony during this time.
Well, For better or worse, we managed to find ourselves a little breathing room, but, well, I don't have much confidence in Larry's testimony. Whatever it might entail. September 22nd, District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3.
Wow, it's been a while since I've had this much fun and excitement. Face off against Mr. Edgeworth. A harrowing tightrope walk for the defense.
Phew, I'm exhausted already. Boss, I'm here for moral support. Athena, are you all done practicing for Tuesday's magic show? Well, to be perfectly honest, I sort of ran away. But that's because she was putting my life in danger, I tell you. I see. I think I'll need to have a one-on-one with her. You're really athletic and fit, Athena, so Trucy probably thinks she can run you ragged. That may be true, which is why not even Trucy can keep up with me when I run at full speed.
Ha! Looks like you spoke too soon, Athena. Never underestimate the resourcefulness of a great magician. Huh? Magical girl Trucy Wright is on the scene.
No!
Now, Athena, it's time to practice human combustion magic. Go on, douse yourself with this gasoline. But don't worry, it's a magic trick after all, so it's perfectly safe. Run away! Hey, you're not getting off that easily. Ha ha ha, they get along so well, don't they? It reminds me of the good old days. You, me, and Pearlie. Oh, and Detective Gumshoe. Can't forget him. We had all kinds of fun at the crime scenes back there, remember?
Leaving me to do all the serious investigating, as I recall.
Court will soon be back in session, Mr. Wright.
Right, thank you.
So, Larry's the next witness, right? I can't wait to see what happens.
Sadly, I can already imagine it. September 22nd, District Court, Quorum number 6.
Court will now reconvene.
Nick, Effie! You're gonna hang me on the trial, aren't you?
No, not the both of us. Just Mr. Wright.
Nick, how could you?
I don't really think he did it, of course, but I've got to use whatever leads I can. Mr. Butz, there's a possibility you moved the lantern that had the dead body in it. So, if you want to clear yourself of any suspicion, all you have to do is testify.
Now then, your testimony, please, witness.
Nick, you've been fast, Jack!
How can you tell your best bud? We've known each other since elementary school. Well, get this, pal. Our friendship is over.
Well, go ahead, Mr. Wright. It's all yours.
Why me? You're the one who called him to the stand, so here's your responsibility.
Thanks, old chum.
You should be respect, even as a should.
You may cross-examine the witness, Mr. Wright.
I would if there were any testimony to cross-examine.
Okay. This should be interesting.
You big fat sugar jerk!
Hold it!
Come on, Larry.
Can't you please give me something real to work with? Don't think I don't know you by your tricks. If I see something careless, you're gonna shove some evidence at me with a loud objection and a super smug look on your face. Yeah, well, that is my job.
Are you gonna get found guilty? Or are you gonna do what you've done?
Why should I take responsibility for just doing my job? You heartless jerk! Don't you have any compassion for me? How can you tie your best bud? We've known each other since elementary school.
Hold it!
I'm sorry, Mr. Butz, but if it wasn't Miss Wyatt that entered the hole with that card, then you're the most likely suspect.
You're just not as if your old childhood friend!
Friend? technically, yes. But it isn't personal, I assure you.
Oh, a true friend would believe in me no matter what. Can't you see my tears? Don't they mean anything to you? Nick.
You don't really think you can crawl your way out of this, do you?
Okay, fine! In that case,
Well, get this, pal. Our friendship's over.
Hold it!
Larry, listen to me.
shut up! I'm not talking to you anymore!
This is getting us nowhere. Come off it, Larry. If you don't quit fooling around and start testifying, Miss Wyatt will be found guilty.
For real?
If new information comes out of this cross-examination, then yes, Mr. Butz, for real. For shizzle, my nizzle.
Not that I would have a problem with that myself. Larry, just tell us the truth already. Did you or didn't you go into the hold and move a lantern up to the reception hall?
I don't remember any bull lantern, I tell you!
Bull lantern?
What? Did I say something weird?
You told me that you didn't attend the wedding reception.
Can you believe they told me only family relatives could attend? They wouldn't even let me into the reception hall.
Yeah, so what?
Then that's odd. No one in this courtroom ever mentioned the sex of the lantern that was moved. So how could you know that it was a bull lantern?
You didn't have to actually go to the reception to know that.
Anyone can tell there were two pigables by looking at the Flight Chapel's pamphlet!
All I can tell right now is that there is a strong scent of bull in the air in here. Please add that last statement to your testimony, Mr. Butz.
Anyone could tell that there were two pigables by looking at the Flying Chapel's pamphlet!
Hold it!
Seriously, Larry, if you're hiding something, you'd better fess up now.
I'm telling you, I don't know nothing! Why do you have to tell me so much?
Why? Because you're you, that's why.
Reggie, you think Nate's being awful to me, don't you? So you tell him, don't think what a big meanie he is.
I would, if I thought he was being one.
Not you too.
Why does anybody ever take my side?
I wish I didn't have to doubt him, but something about what he just said doesn't add up.
You finally got a decent statement out of him, huh, Nick?
Yeah, finally. It sure took a lot of work, though. I hope all of this leads somewhere. Yeah.
Objection!
I want you to take a look at this, Mr. Butz. Because, unfortunately for you, the pamphlet clearly shows a pegacow and a pegable in their example diagram of the reception hall. But on that day, instead of putting a pegacow and pegable out for the bride and groom, there were two male pegables on display. Yet somehow you knew there were two pegables in the reception hall that day. There's only one way you'd know something like that, Larry. It was you who moved the pegable to the reception hall, wasn't it?
No! Larry, you didn't. Mr. Butz, did you move the lantern containing the victim's body to the reception hall?
That's what it looks like.
What? Wait, Nick! You don't think I'm the murderer, do you?
Maybe you and Mr. Gloomsbury were fighting over Miss Wyatt and you ended up killing him?
Oh yeah, not you too. Look, I did sneak into the reception, but that's as far as it went.
You know me, I would have for
You snuck into the reception? Yeah, sure, but some of their sprocket men caught and locked me up in one of the cabins. It was very awful, actually. But that's when I made that drawing of the pterodactyl I showed you, Nick.
X-nay on the aerodactyl patane, Larry. What the fuck is that? X-nay on the aerodactyl patane, Larry? What? Mr. Wright, not even you would take this fast that far, would you? We are talking about Larry. What do I do? Do I accuse Larry of being the true culprit? I guess I have no choice but to accuse him. Wait a minute. But Larry didn't have any reason to kill Gloomsbury. No, you're right, Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Butz didn't have a reason to kill Mr. Gloomsbury. He might have had an imaginary reason to kill Star and Sprocket, sure, but not Mr. Gloomsbury. After all, he did steal Mr. Sprocket's bride and try to elope with her.
Just because I try to steal somebody's bride doesn't make me a murderer.
I believe you, Larry, and I don't think you killed anybody either. You would never do anything like that.
Nick, oh buddy, old pal. I knew you'd come through for me. Funny that, considering your sworn testimony just now that we were through.
Mr. Butz, it's time we told this court the whole truth. Understood?
It's just like Nick said. I'm the one who moved the lantern. I was smoking around the reception hall before the main event and saw a lantern was broken. There was a note on it that said, "Exchange with the one in the hold, Ellen." So I decided to do Ellie a favor.
So, you switched the lanterns before the reception, did you? Then that means the victim really was killed before the reception.
Huh. It would appear that Mr. Butz completely fell for the defendant's scheme.
Scheme? What scheme?
This note from the defendant exchanged with the one in the hold, Ellen. Mr. Butz moved the lantern with the body and it's up to the reception hall because of this note, and thus he has become a suspect in Mr. Gloomsbury's murder.
Gulp.
That cycle lantern did feel pretty heavy, but I never would have thought there was a dead body in it. What was a note like that doing on a lantern in the first place? You've got it wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. I left that note for myself. It was simply a reminder because I can be very forgetful.
Objection!
What a sorry excuse, Miss Wyatt. The prosecution contends that this note shows one facet of the defendant's murderous plan, and you, Mr. Butz, you played right into Miss Wyatt's hands.
Don't believe it! I don't believe it!
Objection!
Do you still really believe Miss Wyatt to be the culprit, Miss Edgeworth? Huh. Of course. My stance on the matter remains unchanged. If you think I'm wrong, then prove it with your cross-examination. Gladly.
Very well, Mr. Wright. You may cross-examine the witness.
It's just like Nick said. I'm the one who moved the lantern.
Hold it!
Why didn't you tell us that sooner?
Because I knew you guys were going to be suspicious of me, that's why!
Well, they're suspicious of you now because you tried to hide it. My thoughts exactly. Well, now that I've told you, happy?
So how about let me go?
We will not let you go. We need you to stick around to sort a few things out.
Fine!
I was poking around the reception hall before the main event and saw a lantern was broken.
Hold it!
The lantern you swapped out was a female Pegamoo, a Pegaca, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Why did you replace a female lantern with a male one?
Because I was too busy trying not to get caught. I didn't have time to check for little details like that. If you didn't want to get caught, you could have just left well enough alone, you know.
Whatever!
Anyway, when I took a look at the broken lantern I saw, there was a note on it that said, "Exchange with the one in the hold, Ellen."
Hold it!
That note wasn't addressed to you, was it?
Well, I guess not, but how could I let my dear sweet Ellie do all the hard physical labor on her own?
It's precisely that thought process that constantly gets you into trouble, Larry.
Besides, it was my big chance to show her how much I cared about her. So I decided to do Ellie a favor.
Hold it!
Nobody saw you the whole time while you were switching the lanterns?
Nope, I didn't get caught. Not that time, anyway.
Not that time?
Yeah, when I tried to sneak into the reception hall the first time, I didn't have as much luck. Those Sprocket guys spotted me and nabbed me.
All of my words are failing me right now. Pretty exciting, don't you think? Larry, you need help. And then they locked me up in one of the cabins.
Nick, what are you asking about stuff like this for, anyway? Shouldn't you be trying to prove his innocence?
Well, is that statement of as important to the case? Mr. Butz trying to crash the reception and subsequently getting locked up in a cabin. I believe these might be important facts in this case, Your Honor.
Very well, Mr. Butz, please add that statement to your testimony.
I tried to sneak into the reception hall, but I got caught and locked up in a cabin.
Hold it!
So you got locked up. Then what happened?
I broke out. Then I started looking for Ellie and wandered to the reception hall again. That's when I saw the broken lantern and replaced it.
Even after they caught you and locked you up, you still went looking for Miss Wyatt? But hold on a minute. What is it, Nick? Maya, doesn't something seem weird to you? Larry is saying he replaced the lantern after he broke out of the cabin. That's right. Oh, wait. Huh? You're right. It doesn't make much sense, does it?
Mr. Wright, have you found an inconsistency in the witness's statement?
Yes, I believe so, Your Honor. Mr. Butz moved the lantern after he broke out of the cabin, but that contradicts with... Mr. Butz moved the lantern after he broke out of the cabin, but that contradicts with this. Is he in the crowd? No, I don't see him in the crowd.
Take that!
And what sense does that piece of evidence contradict with the statement?
It doesn't contradict it at all, does it?
Indeed.
No, don't mind me, Your Honor. It looks like I just made a tiny mistake. That's all.
Huh.
Hold it!
What does it contradict? Something about the timeline of things? I have no clue. Mr. Butz moved the lantern after he broke out of the cabin, but that contradicts with this.
Take that!
The photo he took? Well, I have no penalties for this, so
Hold it!
I can just keep on trying. One evidence after the other. Mr. Butz moved the lantern after he broke out of the cabin, but that contradicts with this. The autopsy report?
Take that! Hold it!
He got locked up, he broke out, he switched the lanterns. What does that contradict? What does it contradict? What does it contradict?
Take that!
Is that?
Yes, it's the broken lantern, Your Honor. Mr. Butz, what you're saying doesn't make any sense at all.
What? Why not?
You swapped the lanterns before the reception began, right?
Yeah, that's what I said, is it?
But you also just said that you swapped the lanterns after you got locked up in a cabin for trying to sneak into the reception. In other words, you were saying you swapped the lanterns both before the reception and after the reception took place.
That certainly doesn't make any sense, does it? Mr. Butz, did you swap the lanterns before or after the reception?
Which was it, before or after? There's a world of difference between the two. Well, Mr. Butz?
I guess I can expect you guys like you to understand. Eventually, it was both before and after the reception. What?
I tried to sneak into the first reception and got locked up.
The first reception? Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
Then, through the power of Ellie's pendant, time got rewound and we went back to the time before the reception.
It was after that when I replaced the lantern. So it was both before the reception and after the reception. Get it? We went back in time to before the reception. So of course the reception would take place one more time after that. Right? That's why what I said makes perfect sense.
Mr. Wright, what in the world is the witness talking about? Has he developed some sort of intellectual ailment I'm not aware of since I last saw him?
Well, none of the sprockets seem to remember the time skip, but I do. And Ellie remembers it too. I think the power of our love for each other made that miracle happen.
Mr. Wright, I'm sorry, but could you please translate this man's gibberish so the rest of us can understand?
So now I have to be the one to explain about the whole time travel thing?
Go on, Nick. I know you can do it.
Looks like you don't have much choice, Nick. To heck with it. I can't lose any more of my dignity today anyway.
The defendant, Miss Ellen Wyatt, has told the defense the following strange story. She said that after the reception ended, she was attacked by Mr. Bloomsbury. She claims that as she was being assaulted, she made a wish upon her pendant. Please take me back to that blissful moment. In doing so, time apparently rewound itself to just before the reception began.
It what?
I know it's hard to believe, but think about it this way. Through the power of the pendant, both Ellen Wyatt and Larry Butz experienced time travel.
What?
Objection!
What absolute rubbish. Mr. Wright, I've had my fair share of your nonsense over the years, but this takes the cake. Have you thoroughly lost your mind?
Objection!
But this is simply the conclusion I came to, using that logic ability you love so much. What? The truth of the matter is, the future president of Sprocket Aviation, Soren Sprocket, has been researching time machines. So, what if a time machine has already been successfully created? And what if that's one of Sprocket Aviation's top secret inventions?
A time machine?
Yeah, I even saw something while we were time traveling. I saw a pterodactyl flying through the sky. Maybe the airship was set to travel through time for their honeymoon trip.
What? The pterodactyl?
Objection!
You can't possibly have any evidence to back up your ridiculous time travel story.
Well,
As I thought. In any case, I now have the evidence to prove that you're no more intelligent than Larry.
Not so fast now, Edgy. I'm not the same old Larry you used to know.
Oh?
You want evidence? I've got your evidence right here. This is a photo I secretly took of the first reception.
What?
What?
Larry, I can't believe you... Well, anyway, good job. If we compare the photos of the first and second receptions and can find a difference, then we'll be able to prove that the reception was held twice.
But do you really think such a difference exists?
Yes, Your Honor, I just need some time to find it for you.
This is preposterous. Very well. Please show the court what's different then.
This is proof positive that the wedding reception was held twice. Where's the other one?
Take that!
Here it is. This is proof that the reception was held twice.
Where?
Right here, Your Honor.
Right where?
Right, not here, maybe.
It appears you've missed the mark, defense. I hope you take better aim next time before you fire off that mouth of yours.
But my aim's usually impeccable. I better take another good look at the two photos before I answer again, though. This is proof positive that the wedding reception was held twice. Down. Oh, the color is... Yeah, okay, the color is different.
Take that!
Please direct your attention to Miss Wyatt's bouquet of flowers. In the photo one of her in-laws took, the defendant is holding a yellow bouquet. But in the photo Mr. Butz took, she is holding a red bouquet. You're right.
That's impossible! What does this mean?
That time travel exists. Or the defendant really did experience two wedding receptions. And she did that when she traveled back through time.
What?
Nick, you did it! You proved Ellen's time travel story to be true.
Yeah, I can hardly believe it myself.
Just as Ellen said, the reception was held twice. This turns every assumption we base this trial on upside down.
Objection!
I refuse to accept such a ludicrous argument. It is pure fiction under the guise of pseudoscience at best. There is simply no such thing as time travel. I know it's hard, but can't you suspend your disbelief for 1 nanosecond, Edgeworth?
I bet sci-fi movies push all your buttons the wrong way, don't they, Mr. Edgeworth? I can totally picture you yelling, "That'll never happen," every 5 seconds at the screen. Maybe you should stay away from movie dates altogether.
That's neither here nor there. This is real life we're talking about. But the proof is clearly shown in the two photographs.
That's right, Mr. Edgeworth. No matter how inexplicable... Fine. I'll entertain your absurd delusion. If only to demolish it before your very eyes. What? Let's start with this then, shall we? There's one thing your time travel theory fails to explain. And that is the memories of the other guests there. The defendant and Larry remember the reception occurring twice, but no member of the Sprocket family has even mentioned such a thing. That's because the time machine is classified
Objection!
I'm not done, you bird brain. As I was saying, if the entire family had been sworn to secrecy, then why hadn't they sworn the woman who was marrying into the family to secrecy too? That's a good point. Honestly, all it takes is a little common sense, Mr. Wright.
Even still, how do we know that the trip through time did not really occur? There is proof in the photos that it did, and besides, if time travel doesn't exist, well, I'd be a little disappointed, frankly. I was hoping to go back to the days of my youth.
You mustn't allow yourself to be taken in by Mr. Wright's whimsical tales, Your Honor. I've read about it in various literature, you see. And they all say that time travel is just not logically feasible.
Maybe our argument was just a little too nonsensical, Nick.
Well, in that case, why don't we put common sense to the test? Excuse me? The wedding reception was held twice. The photos are proof of that. But it wasn't because of time travel. It's simply because the reception had actually been held twice. Isn't that the most reasonable way to interpret the situation?
Would you care to elaborate, Mr. Wright?
If time travel doesn't exist, then there's only one way to make sense of what happened. Somebody must have orchestrated a strange phenomenon, and that somebody is the gods. What if all of the guests at the reception conspired together to hold the reception twice and keep quiet about it? What? And for what purpose would they conspire to do such a thing? Well, who's that?
Oh. A brilliant deduction, Defense. I can tell that you're not a renowned lawyer for nothing. I must say, I underestimated you.
How so, Mr. Nutriday?
You have managed to name each event precisely as they happened. You have revealed it all to the light of day.
Then that means...
It was us. We orchestrated the whole thing. Yes, the reception was held twice. But not because of time travel, no. We simply held it a second time.
What? Why? Why would you do such a thing?
To make it as though the murder Miss Ellen committed never happened. Master Soren figured that if Miss Ellen, who had killed Gloomsbury after the first reception, experienced the reception one more time, she would think it was all a dream. It was he who ordered us to make it happen. However, only a few, myself included, knew of Miss Ellen's crime.
Are you saying most of the guests attended to 2 receptions without knowing why?
Indeed, they needed no reason. Master Soren told them to do it, and do it they did. That is a Sprocket way.
Then who hid the body in the lantern?
We did. But we did not anticipate the Petters finding their way in, nor the actions of Mr. Butz.
And that's how you intended to cover the whole situation up.
There's just one thing everyone here has wrong. The real scene of the murder was not the hold, it was the Visa deck.
What? The Miss Wyatt's recollection of the events must be correct.
I admit we tried to cover this incident up, but the fact that Miss Ellen killed Gloomsbury is undeniable.
Well, this is quite a turn of events.
Oh. And so it appears we have arrived at the truth at last. Now. Please do feel free to travel back in time, Mr. Wright, and attempt to do this trial over again. Go on.
Let's not get hasty, Edgeworth.
I bet you can't do it.
I bet you can't either!
Your Honor, we will have to hold a separate trial for the cover-up conspiracy later. But as far as this case goes, I believe we are ready for your ruling.
Objection!
Just before the defendant lost consciousness during her attack, she says she saw someone strike the victim. it's possible that this third party is the true culprit.
Objection!
You still want us to believe the defendant's words? Perhaps you have lost more than your touch during your time abroad. This third person nonsense is nothing but rubbish, and you know it.
Objection!
But by the same token, how can we trust those who conspired and lied to fool this court of law? For all we know, they might still be hiding something. You never know when to quit, do you?
Now, calm down, both of you. In any case, there isn't enough trustworthy information yet for me to render a verdict. I suggest we continue the trial after both sides have investigated the matter further.
Very well, Your Honor. Phew, that was close.
Mr. Nishiday, as for you and your cohort's attempt to cover up this crime, your case will be brought to a separate trial following the resolution of this current one.
Understood, Your Honor.
Well then, this concludes today's trial. Court is adjourned.
To be continued.